Today we're going to have an exciting presentation and demo and discussion about Power Apps working with Teams. So Microsoft Teams is one of my favorite products. I enjoy using it every day. I happen to know one of the people on the Teams team that I was hoping could make it, and you might know her too. Her name is Caruana Gatimu, and she is awesome. And so we have actually done videos together on Channel 9. So you might want to check out her video feed, which is Coffee in the Cloud. And so we'll continue to partner together occasionally and to do videos. So let me go ahead and get started because I have a lot to share with you today and you're going to enjoy it, I'm sure. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a brand new connector series and it's happening once per month. And each month I kind of focus on a different topic. Right now, this month has been very operations focused. So you'll see that again in the demo today. Next month, I might be talking about project management and relevance. You know, how do you collaborate with people that are near you or relevant to you? The following month, we will be focusing on project management, and then we'll be talking about sales in dynamics. So each month, I'm going to kind of be talking about a different role/industry to kind of give you some diverse business scenario ideas as well. So check out the connector series. It'll be on Monday, but it'll always be once a month. And this one could have been part of the connector series, but I just couldn't wait to share this with you. So I wanted to do it right away. So let's get started. Let me go ahead and share screen. And I just want someone to confirm that you can hear and see me. Can you guys both hear? Okay, thank you, Stacy. That's helpful. Okay, so since we're talking about Teams, I thought I'd share this picture with you. This is a pretty old picture. I won't say old because I'm pretty new to the team, so I don't think anything I have is old. But these are some of the people I work with every day. And if you look at their smiling faces, you can tell that we actually do treasure the whole idea of working in teams. So the software Microsoft Team was all created in order to help us, all of us who collaborate together, whether we're in the same team or whether we have cross-group collaboration needs. Microsoft Teams is there to support our happiness. And you can tell that we're successful because we are all very happy. All right, so let me get started. This is just one slide, I promise. Just in case you don't know what PowerApps is, you're like, what the heck is PowerApps? I've never heard of that. PowerApps is a software as a service, and it's used for creating custom business applications across platforms, right? So when I say across platforms, I mean, when you build that app, and this is something you want to share with people, those of you that know already, when you build one app, it instantly works on the desktop. It works on your Surface Hub in the hallway that's huge. It works on your iOS device, whether it be an iPad or an iPhone. It works on your Android devices. It works on your Windows phone. So it's like one build gives you everything, okay? And we build basically in a three-step process. We connect to data somewhere, right? And we're hoping that you'll connect to the data just easily. You just plug and play, and you'll see a little bit of that today, where you connect to the data that you need or that you use. And if we don't offer you your data that you need in the over 200 connectors that we have today, you can always create your own custom connectors and still be able to connect to your line of business data. After you've connected to data, now you can build controls and forms and workflows, and you can add those controls and forms and workflows to your canvas, and you can end up with a composite app, right? And you can do that really easily without any code. And then finally, when you're ready and not before, you can publish that app instantly for the web and for mobile devices to your organization or to security groups or other groups you work with within your Active Directory. Now, it's important to note that you publish apps whenever you want, not through an app store like an iTunes or something like that. You publish through our players and through our web authoring tools. And then the apps will be available from the PowerApps player devices and from the players that are online. So you can always publish your apps whenever you want. There'll be nobody monitoring you to tell you what you need to put in your app. It's up to you what you have in your app, and it's up to you who sees it and when within your organization. So this is a business enabler. And one of the things I've been talking about, it to kind of just mention to you, is that connectors is a big thing in this world. Because, I can download a SharePoint mobile app. I can download a Wunderlist mobile app. I can also download like a Yammer app. But these apps are all put together for me. And of course, those products are all listening to your feedback as well to make them the best possible thing for you. But what if you could decide how to put these different data sources together in a way that works for your business? In other words, you're customizing the app experience by using these different data sources the way you use them together. Like in this app on the right here that I've shown you before, I built this little mobile app for myself, and it gives me what I care about when I wake up in the morning. What's the weather going to be like? Am I going to be able to see? By the way, I just got glasses, guys, and I'm having such a hard time wearing my glasses. If it wasn't for Todd Manning, who's like sits across the hall from me, I probably would never put my glasses on, but I'll try and show them to you before I leave. Anyway, so I got to make sure I can see. And then on the bottom of the app, I have the list of things that are due today, right? And so I love combining these connectors and ending up with something very customized to what I need, what my team needs, what my organization needs, or even what my enterprise needs. So it's all about Microsoft Teams today. So how many of you, like kind of doing the chat, how many of you regularly use Microsoft Teams? Kind of share with me your thoughts on Microsoft Teams in the chat, please. And, I'd like to see what you have to say about it. Tell me if you're using it. Tell me if you love it. And tell me what you love best about it. And I'll tell you what I love best about it. So I love Teams because it gives me the freedom to organize my work in a way that helps collaboration. So we work together in groups, and we create V teams all the time at Microsoft. These called these virtual teams, where we kind of get together, and no matter where we are in the world, right, we come together into this virtual environment, and we can work on a particular subject matter, right? Like I'm part of the inclusivity movement at Microsoft. And so we have a team site specifically for the inclusivity movement, for diversity and inclusion. And I love that. So that everything that, has to do with that, as we build it, as we develop it, as we get feedback, it goes into that team site. We don't lose it. We don't lose track of it. And in my Teams navigation, I can see all the projects that I'm working on and kind of get an idea of what people need from me just by glancing through the little icons that show up when people leave me messages or when messages are posted. Now, Microsoft Team integrates beautifully with PowerApps, and I'm going to show you that today in two different ways. But I chose a particular business scenario to walk through today. Now, before I go there, I notice a lot of you have said that Nando says that Teams is your modern workplace. And Ryan Kirk is here. Oh, that's so cool. He says it brings several of the tools that we use every day into one nice, cohesive environment. I totally agree. So Astok made a good point here. He says we're using Skype, so people find it difficult to switch. So so I love Skype. I use Skype every day. Don't get me wrong, love it. But what you're getting from Teams is not in parallel to what you get in Skype. And you know what? I'm going to try and work together with Caruana to kind of do maybe a little bit of a comparison of the value add as you choose to use Teams and where you get value that you may not already receive in Skype, kind of extending your Skype experience. So I don't stop using anything, by the way. I kind of combine all these wonderful things in Office 365 to create my perfect experience for me. But I don't really stop doing all of it. I just kind of work with different things at different times for different reasons. And we probably need to do a better job at Microsoft of sharing, how do you make that decision when to use what? But very good point that you made there. Thanks for the compliment on my hair. We have a conference this afternoon in Seattle, and so I have to go there right after. Yes, our team gets to drink beer at meetings. We do. Don't tell anybody, okay? Not that we didn't just post that on the internet. So let's look at the scenario that I've chosen. I've chosen an operational scenario today about Teams. And here's the way it works. I have a SharePoint list. And in that SharePoint list, people are putting in request forms. And what they're requesting is updates to our release. So let's say this is not the PowerApps release. This is a fictitious scenario. But you could imagine if you were in a startup company and you had to manage the release of your product changes, right? People on the team, different people can request an update before it gets deployed, right? But as they request these updates to the release, they can mark it what priority it is, whether it's Sev A, Sev B, or Sev C, or you might want to think of this as Pri 1, Pri 2, Pri 3. Usually when it comes to a release of any kind, especially in startups, they don't want to have any Pri 1 issues in their release. So Pri 1, Sev 1 are synonymous here. If it is a Sev 1, then the user of the app that's looking at these request forms can create a channel from the app in Teams that will act as the Sev A bridge. Now, what's a bridge? Those of you that have never been in operations, you might not know. But a bridge is when, okay, we've got a serious problem. We all need to get together and talk about it, whether you're in Canada or France or Redmond or wherever the heck you are. You need to get on this bridge with us so we can help each other resolve this quickly, right? Usually this is used in production scenarios, but I'm using it in a pre-prod situation to encourage the team to get together and kind of discuss this priority and resolve it before the release deploys, okay? And then after that bridge is created in Teams, which will just be a channel, then we can post to that channel any relevant information coming from the SharePoint list that might be helpful to those people on the bridge. So this is extremely operationally driven, and you'd be surprised how easy it is to create. Now, what I've done for you, like I did before, is I've got an app that I've uploaded to the community so that you don't have to memorize everything I'm saying. You can download the app and you'll see all these functions. So you can relax, don't worry. If you miss something, it's okay. You can also rewind, watch this tomorrow, no stress. Just relax and enjoy the journey. Samir from our connectors team, who is awesome. I've got to write a note to his manager. He was the one who went ahead and made a sample app for you. He made a screen with all of the different actions on it so that you could see it. And he did that at 11 o'clock at night. I mean, what an awesome person. See, I am so lucky to be surrounded by passionate people who are always willing to help. It just blows me away. Life at Microsoft is amazing. I just want you to know, but I'll stop bragging now and let's get started. Here are the important functions we're going to talk about. So whenever we talk about doing this, it's really funny. When I first thought of this scenario, I immediately thought of code. Like it was the first thing I thought of. Okay, no, this is going to require code. I'm going to have to connect to a web service, and then I'm going to have to find out, what's available on the web service and what are the tags that are there, blah, 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 blah. And then I said, no, we got PowerApps. We don't have to do any of that. And we have the brand new Microsoft Teams connector. This is relatively new. It is still in preview. So please give us your feedback, because as long as these connectors are in preview, it's pretty simple for us to ask for changes. And Samir is one of the lead people in that team who is so happy to make the experience better for you. And so is our PowerApps team. They actually, the engineering of both teams work very closely together to make sure this experience is optimized for you. The red text at the bottom is something that I will point out later, but it's not documented right now. And I was hoping to get that documented before, this reschedule, but I'll make sure it happens at some point. Either I'll write a blog or we'll get it updated somewhere, okay? So the four things that I'm going to do today is I'm going to be able to find a way with just a function to list all the teams that I have. Then I would be able to select from that list, which will be a drop-down selection. I will be able to select which team I'd like to create a channel in. And then I'm going to create that channel with the third function here that is actually going to do two things, which is create the new channel and grab the ID of that new channel. And then finally, we're going to use the ID of the new channel to post a new message in the channel. So let's do it. Is everybody ready for this? Any questions? Does everybody get the business scenario? Let me know if you don't, because I'll slow down and back it up. I don't see any questions in the chat. Oh, wait. Can someone tell me if a team is public, do you have to add members? My staff hates getting all the emails when they get added to group teams and sites. Ah, yes. So you know what? I don't want to speak to that feature. I believe you wouldn't have to, but I'm not 100% sure. So let me double check and then I'll post an answer under this video, Stacy. I'm not sure. Anybody on the chat know whether or not if it's public, do you have to manually add members? I'm so sorry, I don't know that. All right, so what I have done here on my screen is I have just created an app from data. So I went to my home screen and I didn't want to have you waiting for me to create the app, but I actually did start from data here and I clicked make this app. And what this did was lead me to a page where I could pick SharePoint as my data. And then I pasted the SharePoint URL in there and then I chose my list, right? So I've done that in advance for you so you don't have to watch it. The list itself is on SharePoint. It has 4 columns. That's it. It has a title column, which is like, what is this about? It has a priority column, Sev A, Sev B, Sev C. And then it has a description, like what's the problem? And then someone can put in retrospective notes. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's like, how do we fix this? How do we prevent it from happening again? That would be in the retrospective notes. And of course, this could be much more complicated. I'm just keeping it simple for the sake of the demo. I could have also done create an app here. I just chose to start from data. Okay, so now I'm going to, this is the app that was built for me from scratch. So I didn't touch it, right? It doesn't have anything special going on. It has a browse screen, it has a detail screen, and it has an edit screen. And this is what I love about PowerApps. It just works. If I play this, it works right out of the box. See if I can zoom. Yes, okay, so I can edit here. I can put notes here, new notes, and I can save it. And you see you go back here. And now if I go back to SharePoint and refresh, you'll see my notes there. Okay, there's my notes, okay? My notes are HTML. I could change that, but right now it's HTML. It's not a problem for this demo. Okay, in real life, I might replace that control with an HTML control so that it wouldn't show me my div tags. So if you notice the div tags, that's why. All right, so now I have this app connected to this data, and I'm just going to change the first gallery, which is what I usually do. The first thing I use kind of adjust my first gallery to have the right fields that I want. It doesn't seem to pick the ones that I want. I don't know why it doesn't read my mind. And so I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to change the format of this gallery to a 3. Yeah, we'll leave it 3. I want the title, however, to be title. I want the description to be the created date. And I want the body to be the severity. Now, the severity is a complex field. It's a choice list, so it's not going to show up here. So I go up here and I just go down to, I think it's called priority. There it is. Because it's a complex field, it's a choice field, right? Which means it has behind the scenes an index number and a display value. I had to like hit the dot after the name of it to get into the place where I can get the value. So now you can see that I have the 3 fields that I want on this form. If you have questions about what I just said, go ahead and pop that in the chat. But I think I've talked about that quite a bit. All right, so now that that's done, here's where we're going to add this functionality. So imagine I'm the person reading this thing, right? And let's, I'll just briefly just show you how I would do this, right? So this particular field is not HTML right here. I could put an HTML control here, and then everything would be fine. So I just kind of give you a sneak peek at that so you can see, because I know a lot of people have asked me about it and I haven't talked about this a lot. So I'm going to drop this down and I'm going to do insert, make sure I'm in that place, insert text HTML. And now this HTML field, I can do it in a couple of ways. I'm just going to do it from the notes. And notice that because I've used an HTML fill, you don't see the div tags and stuff, right? Those of you that understand HTML, you know that this down here means that up there. But that's how I would adjust any HTML formatting, okay, because it doesn't build it by default. Okay, so I went off on a tangent. Let's go to the next screen. So I'm going to go to the edit screen here. And a couple of things I'm going to change on this screen that you might want to do. So that's why I'm going to kind of do things that are typical. I'm going to make the description field and the retrospective notes fields a little bit bigger so they look like multi-line text. And I can do that just by clicking on the ABC next to description and clicking edit multi-line text. And you see that it goes to big. All right. So you can do that because I like to give my users a hint that they can type more than one line, right? And anything you don't want to see on this form, I can always delete, right? And there we go. Now, here's where we're going to add this functionality that I'm talking about, though. What I'm going to do, and just because I'm going to remove retrospective notes, just because it will pick at me until I put that HTML form there. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a card under priority, right? So up here, I don't know if you notice, can I zoom in more? Let's see. I don't know if you notice, but up above the fields, there's a little 3 dots right here. And you can add your own custom card. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a custom card. And then after I add that card, I'm going to move it up under severity A. So that it's right there. And then I'm going to zoom in so that we all can see, because I don't have my glasses on right now. Okay, so here I am in this new card. Now, I really don't want this card to be seen unless Sev A is the priority. And so I would also configure it that way as far as the visibility. So I can do that with rules, or I can do that manually. Just basically say the name of this field up here, and maybe I should use rules to. I'll just do it because it's faster. So I'm going to do the name of the field here, and then that's data card value 10. So data card value 10, and then dot, and then I'm going to say selected, which is the second one, and then I'm going to say value equals Sev A. So what I've said here is this is the only condition where this is going to be visible. So I don't actually need to put an if statement here because that's the only true condition that is going to be visible. And I'm going to put something on the card just so I can prove that. So I'll run this and you'll see there's the card. If I change this to Sev B, the card's not there. Nobody sees it. But if I change it to Sev A, the card is visible. Okay, so that's what we want because we don't want this thing that we're adding right now to be visible unless this is a Sev A. Okay, so I'm going to insert on here a drop-down control. This is going to hold the choice of the teams. And I'm going to insert 2 buttons. So I'm going to insert, oops, I'm going to undo. I'm going to select my card first and insert 2 buttons. And I can select copy and paste, Control V, Control C, Control C, Control V. And now I have 2 buttons. This button is going to create channel. And this button is going to post message. Okay, so now that we're all set up, let's get the most important thing. So what have I forgotten to add to this app, right? Because we started this app from SharePoint, so it has the SharePoint connection in there. Yay! But we don't have any idea about Teams, right? So let's go ahead and add the Teams data source, right? So we're going to go in here and click on connections and new connection. And then it'll be in alphabetical order. Just look for Microsoft Teams. Now, if you already have a Teams connection, you can reuse it. So it's under Microsoft Teams, by the way, not Teams by itself. It's got a pretty Teams logo, and notice it has a little icon that means it's in preview. So that means give your feedback on the ideas forum. Tell us what you think of this connector. What can we do better? Okay, I got a question. When you create a team, you have an option to add invite members, or you can let them join the team by searching all public team. Okay, so Ryan Kirk answered the question related to Stacy, where she said, do I need to add members when my team is public? So Ryan explained that you have an option to add invite people or let them join by searching all the public teams and then clicking on create and join team. So you get this choice when you click on create and join team. So this is, you'll see in the chat, take a peek at what Ryan said. Thank you, Ryan, for answering that question, because I didn't know. All right, I'm going to go back to my connections because I believe I have one, and I don't like to create multiple connectors in my connectors UI. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and now Microsoft Teams is added. This is a non-tabular data source, so I will have to use functions to leverage this connector, okay? So let's start by getting the list of teams in this dropdown. I'm going to rename this dropdown DD Team Groups, okay? Because we're going to put the groups in here. And now I'm just going to say and we can copy from my deck, right? So I'll upload the deck as well. So that you can see the formulas and copy and paste them. I'm not sure why I'm getting a authentication request, but I will go ahead and respond. We are high security at Microsoft. Okay, so I've authenticated into Microsoft Teams just now. And I've actually said, okay, here's what I want to be in this dropdown. It can be slow. I will be very honest with you. It can be slow. By default, the value is your first root. But if I wanted the display name here, I'd have to go another step down to get the display name in there, okay? Which would give me a chance to view this. And I'm just going to do a quick save, just so in case we have any problems. I'm going to save as and call this Teams demo app. Save that. Just in case we have any crashes or anything, or if it slows down, I don't lose my data. I suggest you make it a habit to always save at least once as you're working. I might save, usually I might save every, I guess, 30 minutes or so. And I never like go to lunch and leave my app open, like because then it kind of ends up, and you can see the names are there. I do have a little bit of latency that I'm experiencing. However, what I want and this is where you would select your team, right? Now, in this particular business scenario, I only want them going to one team group. I don't really want the user to select the team. So what I'm going to put in here is the ID. And what I'm going to do is find out what the ID is of the team site I want to use so that they don't have to select this, right? And I can set a default value on it. So I'm going to show you how you can get the ID of your teams if you don't select from here. You can get the ID from here. Like I'm going to insert a label here, right? And I can say in this label, we're going to put this so that you can see it. I'll say in this label, CD team groups dot selected ID, and that gives me the ID of the group that's selected. I wonder where I can't put that. Let's put this so you can see it. So you don't have to default it. You can still get the ID that you'll need later just by using this path here. But in my case, the reason I want the ID there is because I want to set a default value for my ID, because I don't want anybody using this for anything but this one Teams channel. I don't want to take a chance on creating a bridge on the wrong channel. So what I'm going to do is take this ID that's here, and I'm going to make it the default value of this, which is looking up an ID. So I can go in here to the default value here, and I can put that ID in there and force them to always select that one. So that's why I'm doing it, but you definitely could allow them to pick it. My fear is I don't want to play around with these team sites. These are actually production team sites, and make a mistake and create a bridge that confuses people and makes them think something is wrong, because nothing's wrong. All right, and let me just go back to the items property and see if I can refresh that, because it should now show the ID. I'm going to refresh the data as well. Okay. All right, so now you can see the ID is shown. So you can do value.id, you can do value.displayname, and you can choose what you want them to pick from. I'm using the ID because I want the default value, and you can see it took it right away. I want the default value to be forced. And I'm actually going to hide this control from my users altogether, but not yet. We're going to keep it there for now. Okay, so now I'm going to delete that label because it was just to demonstrate that to you. Now, how do I create a channel in that team? So I'm going to click on this. And again, this is so easy. You can just go to the deck I gave you, and you can just copy this. But I'll actually, sorry, I want this one. This second one here, you would use it if you wanted to give them a gallery of all their team channels. In this case, I'm actually using only one. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go on the onSelect statement of that, and I'm going to plug this in and fix the names. So the group DD is DD team. Sorry, I just made a boo-boo. The group names is DD team groups. Okay, if you look up here, when you create a channel, you're using this formula right here. Okay, and why don't I simplify this by just doing the creation first? All right, so you need to add the group ID, which these are our groups. I don't want them to use any other group, so I tell this button to look at the drop down here, whatever's selected. And this way, I did it like this so that you could see if you wanted to give them a list of teams, this is the same way you would create the channel, because the drop down contains the ID that you need to create the channel. And then what's the name of the channel? I'm actually going to do this as composite. I'm actually going to use some of the SharePoint data. So I'm going to do sev a bridge and put a little dash and browse gallery 1, which is on this first screen, which is where our SharePoint list is. I'm going to choose the selected title. Okay. So now what I might do also when I do this, because what I want is I want a unique name for my channel. What I might do on SharePoint, a little tip you might not know, but if you go into the list settings of your list and you choose any column at all, doesn't matter which column on SharePoint, you can enforce unique values, right? And what this does is make sure that people don't type the same title more than once, because that would remove our ability to create a unique name for each bridge. But I might use the ID of this list as well. So you could use things that are already unique, but I chose to use the title. So because I did, I'm going to enforce unique values so that my users don't create titles that are the same. And that will index the column as SharePoint just let me know. All right. So going back to the app, right? Now I'm telling it to create that channel with this name. Okay. So here's the thing. And that's all that is to that. I mean, that's the end of creating a channel. But I'm going to show you why the function was a little bit more complex a minute ago. It's because I'm going to post a message. Now, in order to post the message, I need the ID of the channel I just created. Where is that? We don't see that anywhere, right? Because it's an action of creating that new channel. It doesn't give us in this formula right here any clue as to what the new ID is for the new channel. So let's do two things at once. We're actually going to create a variable. You can use global or update context, right? And you saw my video that I posted for my Friday functions video where I talked about local variables last week, I believe over the weekend. And then I'll talk about global next week as well. But I'm going to set a variable called channel response. And this is my idea. I mean, actually, it's Samir's idea to call it channel response. But what I'm saying here, and this is a comma, what I'm saying here in this set statement, I'm going to need another paren because I'm wrapping this inside of a function. What I'm saying is I want the response back from this action. Now, if you go to our, let's just take a peek at our connector documentation for Teams, you'll see what I mean. And those of you that are having problem with the connector documentation, please let me know what problems you're having. And what I will do is work to document this in a way that's helpful to you in PowerApps. So here's our connector, and this is all the documentation about what you can do with the Teams connector. You can create a channel. You can list channels. You can list teams. You can post a message. And here you have some limits on how many calls can be made every 60 seconds, right? So what I'm doing is creating a channel right now, and it tells you what it returns back. It returns the description, the display name, and the ID. Okay, so the ID is the unique ID of the channel. That's what we need. We need that. So I needed to create a variable to grab that return value, right? And I think I put that in the deck. Let's look at this. Post message. Okay. All right. And there it is right here. And notice you can select what you want to get returned back based on what's available. Of course, check the doc to find out what return values you can get. But there's the ID, right? So we'll need that later. We'll need the ID from this response. But this response contains everything on that documentation page for create channel, all three of those things. And then different things may have return values that are different. So take a peek at what it returns, okay? Really helpful because you might need it later to do something else, okay? So now we've got a way to create our channel and we've got a way to capture a variable that holds the ID of that new channel, which means that now we can create the message. So I'm going to go back to my deck here and select all of this just to make it easier. And that's going to be my on select for post message. Isn't this simple? I mean, it really is simple. I think the only hard part of this is this body section right here. And the reason why I'm just changing the name of the dropdown because it was different in my sample. And get rid of any curly quotes, always make sure you're using the right kind of quotes. Let's see, my body message. I think we're good. Just double checking here. So post message to channel is what you use to post a message. And when you do that, if you look up here at this syntax, you have to give it the group ID, which is coming from that dropdown. And then we need the ID of the channel that we created, which is coming from our variable channel response. We're choosing to get the ID. And then we have to format the body. And this is the part that was a little bit complicated when we were working on this. And so we worked on this. Samir helped me because it's not documented. And so just to let you know, this is something that we need to kind of do a better job of showing you what's available. In most cases, when you're in a situation like this where you're in a non-tabular data source, we will usually pop up a list of parameters in squiggly quotes. And you saw that when I did the demo on Planner a couple of weeks ago. You saw that it showed us some options in squiggly quotes. So we're going to try and add that in every case. So you don't have to figure out, well, what is the body content for this, right? What am I doing wrong? Now, one thing I want to point out, and I'll try to zoom in here. When you're copying and pasting from anywhere, and I've said this before, but just remember it, you cannot bring in curly quotes, okay? So if you notice curly quotes, if you see that's curly, and this one over here is not curly, you always want to get rid of those not curly quotes, right? Because they will break your formulas in a hot minute, okay? So remember that. Everybody okay? Anybody need some answers? Everybody good? All right. Now, for the message, I'm going to replace what's here. So this particular string right here represents the type of the body of the message that's going to be posted to the new channel, right? So I'm going to actually decide what I want to put in here. So I might want to put browse gallery 1. I can go and get all that stuff that's in my SharePoint list, right? Like the title and maybe the ID. So I might copy this a couple of times. Control C. And maybe I want in here, maybe I want the ID. Because I don't need the severity. You know why? Because everything in here, every new bridge is about Sev 8, right? But I'm able to pick up anything in SharePoint and put it as part of this message. Now remember to put your punctuation, so you might want to do comma and a space between them, that kind of stuff. But I love that I can build this message based on data already in this app. So we're kind of super simplified here because we have a SharePoint connection to a form list, and we have the Teams connector. But we could have another connection to our sales, pull up customer IDs, account IDs. We could pull up anything that relates to that. So you can make relationships between all this data and then bring it all together into the Teams channel so that the team that's resolving this has everything they need right there, just because of the button press in a mobile app. I'm on my phone. I got this request. I noticed it's Sev 8. I'm going to go ahead and create that bridge. I'm going to go ahead and click post message. Now, all of these things that I'm saying that's a button click can totally be an on-change event. What do I mean by that? So in this case, it just kind of what's happening is it's easier for me as I go through this demo to make them buttons. But I could actually go into this field right here and go into the on change of this field. And as soon as they choose Sev A, I can execute the same select statement that's in create channel, which means that I don't even need to be looking at my app. If it's Sev A, if it's changed to Sev A by somebody, it will automatically just go ahead and create that channel, right? So don't think we have to be the person that initiates this. That's just the scenario in this case. You could definitely make this part of your on-change event and have these things happen behind the scene automatically. Then people, when they get those notifications we were talking about in Teams earlier, they would see, bridge is open, we get there, right? That's simple. So I just want to prove that this works. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to go back to my team. So I have Teams over here, and the site that I'm using is called Planning Team Site. And did I show you how to get the ID? I don't remember. I think I showed you using the app, but if you wanted to get the ID so that you could hard code it without a drop down, you would click Get Link to Team and you would copy what comes out. And then you would open up Notepad, show you where these ID numbers are in the UI of Teams. It tells you right here, here's your group ID, right there. Right there. So that's the group ID. And it also gives you an ID for this particular location. So this breaks down into 3 different GUIDs, but the one I used in the dropdown is this one right here. And that's how I knew what to default it to, because I set it to ID and I defaulted it to this group ID. Okay, so all this is going to happen in this planning team site. Now I'll just kind of click away around so you can see that I'm not cheating. There's only 2 channels in there right now. So I'm going to go back to my app. Where'd it go? And I'm going to make sure I save, because you know what? I haven't saved. Let me save first. File, save. I usually save before I test, just in case, I'm always kind of risk averse myself. All right. So it's set. Look, by the way, if this is Sev B, we won't even see those buttons. Remember that? That's the first thing we did. But if it's Sev A, right, I'm going to click create channel. This one I'm going to hide too, the drop down. I'm going to click create channel. And you see little ants running up there. Now, I would also put in some if-then statements. I might add another variable to that select statement that says update context show button equals false, which would hide this button after they click it. And maybe I would do the opposite for the post message. So the post message would show when the update show button is true, so forth and so on. So you can decide when these buttons show. I didn't want to take your time to do that today, but if we do have the time, I'll show you how I would do that. And so now let's go back to Teams and look at the planning team site. And look, it says one more channel. I wonder what that one is, right? That's the channel we just made. So if I go to the top level here, you can see there's the channel, Sev A Bridge Security Patch Enforce. Because I only have one item in this list, and so the first item is selected, and so it did the title Security Patch Enforced. But depending on which form item it was on, it would have made a different title for the bridge, right? Now, we're going to do the next step, though, is we're going to go back to our app, and we're going to post a message. Again, I would also kind of hide these buttons after they're pressed or something, and I would just use some type of if-then logic or variable to identify when they should be shown and when they shouldn't be shown. And maybe after both of those are done, I might go ahead and hide the whole card. Maybe, who knows? We have all those options, and you guys know that. All right, so now I'm going to go back to Teams again, and you'll notice that I have a new message in that bridge that was not there a minute ago. So isn't this awesome? I mean, I don't know whether you can imagine the opportunities here, especially because if this is a team site where we have all of our engineering people together, they will automatically get notifications. We can also include bots in Teams that say, when the notification is in this format, then ping the person on pager duty, blah, 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 blah. There's all these things that we can do. But I really like the idea of building these channels dedicated to a purpose and then populating it with data from all the data sources that might be needed to solve the problem. And then when people get here, they can open up their screen shares or their video chats or whatever they need to get the situation resolved. So I can think of a ton of ways to do this. This might be used whenever you need to create a specific channel for a new project, or you need to create a specific channel for the release of a magazine or a newsletter or an article, where you're kind of temporarily working on that newsletter or article for X amount of time, but then that channel might get closed down. So you might use your app to create those channels based on some business logic, and whoop, off you go. So, I mean, I just think there's a lot of opportunity here when we think of integrating with Teams and what possibilities we have to facilitate collaboration and to get into that room all the things that are needed to get the work done. Now, my Teams is clicking at me, but don't worry. So the other thing I wanted to show you, when you're building apps, let's go ahead and save our app and publish it here. Where did it go? Okay. So I'm going to save this app. It's saved. I'm going to publish the app. Now, the name of this app is Teams Demo App. I'm going to close it. Normally, I would share it with whoever I want to share it with, but I'm going to close it and go back to Teams and show you that you can also embed your apps, and you might already know this, but you can also embed your apps directly into the team. So if I go to the root of this, to the general, I can go ahead and add, and you can see all the stuff that I was creating yesterday. I can go ahead and add PowerApps. So you just hit your plus sign. Let's go here and embed it. You just hit the plus sign, just because there's less noise here. Hit the plus sign here, And then you look at all the different things you can embed into your Teams. I just think Teams is awesome, don't you? I'm going to click on Power Apps. And as soon as I do that, it looks for my apps. It filters for my apps. And now I can just type here, like, it was called already. I think it was Team Demo app. Do I have a terrible memory? Is that sad? And there's the app. So what I can do is actually, after I select the app, embed it directly into the top area of my team site. Now, I would probably put an app like this on the general channel, or I would put it on a channel that they persistently use, because these bridges are temporary, right? And after the support ticket is done, we probably won't go back to that bridge until we're working on the retrospective. But for the most part, I might have a separate channel here called release updates, right? And I might put in my navigation for release updates channel this app, which would be embedded, and it actually works. It's not like it's just embedded here. It works here. It does everything it did everywhere else, including these buttons work. Everything works. And then what I also might do to even kick it up another notch is I might add a Power BI dashboard on my general tab that links all of the survey bridges and the results of that and what happened, retrospective notes. And then I could use my Power App to search across all of my channels. So let me just say that again so you get what I'm saying. So you've got survey bridges for 10 different things this month. Each one is a different channel, but each one results in a retrospective that ends up in the app and ends up in the SharePoint list. So I can create a Power BI dashboard that kind of shows how many surveys I had, Sev Bs, Sev Cs, as results to, if I dig into Sev A, I can kind of see what our retrospective notes were about. We might have categories of retrospective. So we might have one category that says auto script is required, another category that says monitoring alert is required, another category alert that says people process required. And then we get a Power BI dashboard of how we are learning from our incidents, and we're getting better and better and better at resolving our release deployments. Can you imagine, right? So if you're not operations, try to imagine a whole different setting because there's lots of opportunities. And now here's the challenge I'd like to give all of you on this webinar today. Can you figure out a way that your business could integrate Power Apps with Teams in something similar to what I'm saying here today? Let me know your ideas, right? Put them in the comments below the video or put them on the community where the app will be posted. By the way, if you just go to YouTube and you go right where you are right now, if you look in the description of this page where you're on right now, you'll see that it says sample app download, and it has a link to where we are posting the app itself, not this one, but the one Samir made. Now, the reason we couldn't post this one is because this one's connected to my SharePoint site and you don't have access, so you'd get a ton of errors that you wouldn't like. So Samir's app version that he made last night, because he's a wonderful person, and please send kudos to Samir in the chat, he made you a single page app that you can download and it will work. As long as you have a team channel or a team instance, it will automatically just work when you download it. And you can see all the formulas I used. So check that out. The app isn't uploaded yet, but it'll be uploaded by the end of the day. Okay, so now I'm going to look at questions. Stacy said, is there a way to make the Power App view as the list default view so they don't use the default form? Is there a way to make the Power App view as the list default view so they don't use the default form? I do way more programming in the Power App and don't want to have to do the customized forms. Okay, so Stacey, I'm going to say that differently just to make sure I understand. So you don't want to use customized forms, which automatically is the default when people edit and do new and do, view in SharePoint. You want to use app. You want to create an app. So you're going to have at least maybe a 3-screen app or something. And you want that app to show up in the SharePoint list as the default view. instead of the SharePoint default view. Is that what you're asking? Can you say yes or no? So Stacy, yes, good. Okay, so no. So my simple answer is no. The apps will never act as a default anything in the SharePoint list. However, you can embed those apps on a SharePoint page, which would enable you to direct people to the SharePoint page rather than to the list. Customized forms is the best way to prevent people from getting to the SharePoint default view. Now, Westhead says, can you connect the Power App to an Excel tab? Power Apps connect to Excel tables. So if on your Excel worksheet tab, you have a range that has been named and formatted as a table, it will show up in Power Apps. Remember that you can go to the define name function of your Excel workbook and rename those tables to be something more logical. Because I think they default to table 1, table 2, table 3. If you have a table of sales, you could rename it table sales. That way in your app, it'll be clear to you when you're building your formulas, which table is which. Very often I will build my apps based on multiple ranges in my Excel workbook, which means I need to name those table ranges so I can tell what they are when I'm building my formulas. Any other questions? I love your questions. You guys are coming up with some good questions. We only have 3 minutes left. So post any questions I didn't get in the comments below. I've got to run to the Ready conference, and so I can't stay over time. But I want you to know that this was so much fun to do this with you. And please, I encourage you, come up with some ideas, because our creativity is the only limit we have with this, right? How we work with Power Apps and Teams to facilitate collaboration is totally up to us, because we got the technology. It's bringing it all together for us. All we have to do is plan it and do it. And as you can see, we can do that really quickly, right? In one YouTube video. You guys have a great week. By the way, you'll be hearing from me on Friday, of course, the next Friday Functions video. If you have ideas on what you want to see in the Friday's Function video, then post that on my Twitter account, Artsy Power Apper, and I will try and get those functions in the backlog. Westlands has one more question. Excel connected to Power Apps and Teams tab. There you go. Right there. Now, if you want to know about what you can see in this view using that connector, again, we'd have to get back to you, because I'm not a SME on everything in Teams. That's my dear friend Caruana Gatimu. And so we're going to work together so that we can always answer your questions together as a team. Expect to see us soon in Coffee in the Cloud, which is in Channel 9. You could just look it up on Bing or Google, and you'll find Coffee in the Cloud. And we'll be there together soon. Have a great day, guys. I've got to sign off and run to get my shuttle to Seattle. Talk to you soon.